He looks like Justin Timberlake.
He really does. Candace from our wonderful Aria tournament staff let us know, and we see it. Especially shaved head and sunglasses when JT rocks that look. That's
just a poor man's
similar,
JT.
yeah.
But he's very rich, so you can't say
right,
that.
Right. Foxa makes it 250K. Blind versus blind. Mateos has a pretty one. The form of the 9-8 suited. He'll make the call.
In this video for pokernews.com, we're playing the final table of a $10,000 buy-in tournament, part of the pokergo Cup series in the pokergo studio. Folds around to Alex Foxen in the small blind. He is playing 30 big blinds effective against Adrian Mateos. Take a look at the stacks at the start of the screen. If you're listening to this only, I'll explain them. We have Sean Winter with 30 big blinds. We have David Peters with 30 big blinds. We have Joseph Chung with 12 big blinds. We have Alex Foxen with 35 big blinds. And Adrian Mateos with 30 big blinds. This is a spot where when there are multiple players with very similar stacks, if at all possible, you really want to get a decent chip lead. Right now, Foxen has a tiny chip lead, and that should make him be substantially more aggressive on all betting rounds. But this might be a spot where he really does want to turn it on and get after it, because that's going to allow him to potentially chip up a little bit more to something like 40 big blinds and get everybody else down to 27 or something like that. And then he's going to be able to raise far wider and push the players around as long as Joseph Chung is sitting there with a relatively short stack. So this is a spot where, before the cards are even dealt, Foxen's going to want to be aggressive. He gets a hand that may normally want to limp in the small blind, ace-9 offsuit, but he does raise it up to 3 big blinds, 250K, playing 40-80. I think that's good. You definitely want to be aggressive in spots like this to really try to take over, because this right here, in situations like this, are where you get the chip stack that's going to make it far easier for you to potentially win the tournament. Anyway, he raises. Ace-9 offsuit. Adrian Mateos, good, strong, battling player. In the big blind defends the 9-8 of hearts. I don't think he has any other option in this spot. Let's go to the flop.
Queen 6-5 with 1 heart. Mateos, the gutter, the backdoor straight flush draw. Foxen's ace high is best.
Watch Mateos' eyes, studying Fox, looking at his hands up and down.
$145.
Sort of a sweet price if you're Mateos. Got that gut shot, the backdoor heart draw. Could certainly think your pairs are live as well. Foxen a little caught out in no man's land at the moment, hoping that he gets a favorable turn card to perhaps barrel once more.
As Mateos does indeed continue.
The flop comes Queen 6-5, 1 heart. This gives Alex Foxen ace high and nothing else. It gives Adrian Mateos a gut shot straight draw, a backdoor flush draw, 2 overcards to the 6. It's a pretty good hand. This is a spot where I think Foxen would normally just want to check a large chunk of the time, because this type of board should line up pretty nicely with Mateos's pre-flop defending range. But because of the payout implications and because of everything I said before the flop, I think betting small is very reasonable for Foxen with his entire range, or close enough to his entire range. And I gotta presume that's what he's doing here. He does go for about a 1/4 pot size bet. Over to Mateos, he has a very easy call. If he raises and gets jammed, he has to fold out a hand that has some equity. And he can easily call in position and proceed to the turn to try to make a very concealed nut hand when he gets a 7. And if he gets a 9 or an 8, it's probably good too. And he's going to be able to bluff Foxen off of some hands by the river whenever he misses. So super easy call for Mateos.
Turn is the deuce of diamonds. favorable one for Mateos.
It's really not. However, if you're foxing, you know, a hand like 4-3 suited does make some sense for Mateos to possibly be defending with. To be concerned about pairs too, right? Any 5, any 6, certainly a queen. One of the beautiful parts about that down bet sizing that Foxen presented on the flop is that you allow weaker hands to want to continue and peel. So it's very effective when you actually have a big hand. Obviously not the case in this instance. Door simply now just open for Mateos to try and win it right here.
He fires 280,000.
The turn is the 2 of diamonds, which is not going to connect very well with Foxen's range for the most part. And, you know, Mateos could have connected okay with it if he did randomly have the 4-3. And, of course, Mateos could just be sitting here with the queen. So this is a spot where I think Foxen now wants to check a large chunk of the time, as he does. Over to Mateos. Pot's 870K, and they have 2 million remaining in the stacks. This is where Mateos has to decide if he's going to bet the turn and jam the river in this situation. That would usually be what I would be thinking about, but Mateo does something different. He goes for a small bet. He goes for 280 into 870. So what is that, a third pot or so? And look, I think in this spot, when Mateos is betting, given he's the one under immense payout implication pressure because he's the one who can go broke in this hand, I think he probably just wants to be betting bigger in general. Because when you bet small in the spot, it lets Foxen stick around and realize his equity okay with all sorts of stuff. And also, when Mateos is betting, he should be very, very polarized, usually in the strong direction, because he needs to have a large amount of equity in order to put in his stack, given Joseph Chung is sitting here very short stacked with only 12 big blinds. So I think Mateos mostly wants to just check in the spot and then bluff the river a lot, to ensure he just doesn't go broke in this hand. But if he is going to bet, I think he'd prefer to go bigger. That said, I'm going to default to him. He's a world-class crusher, and he does go for the small bet. Let's see what Foxen does.
Foxen not going anywhere just yet.
Oh my gosh, the power of ace high.
It's the call.
When most of the potential drawing hands blank on the turn, and your opponent bets small, and you know they're capable of bluffing, I don't know if Foxen can go around folding decent ace highs in the spot. Now, his 9 in his hand is not a good card to have because he really wants Mateos to have a hand like 9-8 or 9-7 and be bluffing with it, right? So I really think Foxen does not want to have a 9 or an 8 or 7 in his hand, which he does. However, if he is going to have a 9 or an 8 or a 7, he really wants it to be the diamond in his hand, because that way if, let's say, a 9 comes on the river, it won't be the 9 of diamonds completing some of the logical bluffs Mateos could have with backdoor flush draws. So I think this hand's okay to call. He would much, much, much rather have a hand like ace 10 or ace jack, or maybe even a hand like ace 3, because it has a gut shot and doesn't really interact with 9-8, 9-7, etc. But Foxen really doesn't like to fold, and he calls. Fine. Let's go to the river.
River's the deuce of hearts. Ace high still best. 1.4 million in this pot. Does Mateos try one more time?
This is a really difficult river for Mateos to continue bluffing on, right? It almost looks like it has to be a queen only, possibly a hand like 4-3 suited. Otherwise, Foxen knows that ace high might just be the best of it.
As the commentators say, this may not be a very good card to bluff on the river, but we know Mateos is going to go for it. So in this scenario, what I want to know is what size should he use? Should he go small, let's say 650K, medium, like 1,150K? Or should he go all in for 1.7 million? Take a second, consider the options, and let me know what you would do in the comment section down below.
1.150.
Oh, but Mateos is going to go for it here.
150.
Betting more than 1.1 million.
This is filthy. Absolutely filthy by the Conquistador. Can Foxen possibly find a hero call?
Given the way this hand has played out, I think Foxen's range is going to be a whole lot of ace highs and under pairs to the queen. So the question becomes, how much do we need to bet to get ace high and the under pairs to fold? And for that reason, 650K would be especially terrible because ace high and under pairs are going to call that every single time. So the next question becomes, should we rip it all in or should we bet less than all in? And at a final table, you are highly incentivized to bet less than all in general. And that is exactly what Mateos does. He goes for 1.15 million. Now you may say, doesn't that make it obvious that you're bluffing because you're trying to keep some money back in case you lose? And the answer to that is no, because I imagine Mateos is going to do this with both his strong hands and his weak hands, so he's perfectly balanced. But in general, you'd rather give up a little bit of value with your good hands in exchange for staying in the tournament with 7 big blinds when you are bluffing. And really, you're not going to be bluffing a ton anyway. So I think this is a really good bet size from Mateos. That said, I think he'd have a much greater success rate of getting under pairs to a queen to fold if he bet a little bit bigger on the turn and then jam the river, or close enough to jam the river. Everything except for 1 big blind. Because when he does go this size, I'm not even sure a hand like ace-5 will fold at this point. That said, Foxen has worse than ace-5. Let's see if he can find the call.
Remember, Foxen did raise pre, perhaps eliminating a lot of the deuces from Mateo's potential holdings.
Right, it's a queen. It's 3-4 suited. It's 5s full, 6s full. It's those sorts of hands.
Such a tough spot. Foxen's ace high is best. Multiple time extensions used.
How good is this guy? Taking this much time, he believes he has the best hand. So much pressure. The chip leader to start this hand. If he's wrong, it's a disaster.
Another time bank used for another 30 seconds left to act.
Uncertain if that's the last time bank or if those are Joe Chong's next to the velvet chips. I think that might be it.
Oh, he's got a couple.
Oh, there we are on the other side. Okay, 3 left, I believe. Oh my gosh.
Makes the call with ace high.
Oh my gosh.
An early candidate for call of the series.
Oh, I am floored. Foxen. Unbelievable.
Wowee, what a call. After a lot of deliberation, a lot of thinking, Foxen decides to call with the ace high for a ton of chips, and he scoops a nice pot off of Mateos. The question, though, is how and why would he possibly call with this ace high? Well, first things first, when a lot of draws miss, and in this scenario, basically every draw missed, you should be pretty inclined to hero call. If he calls and loses, well, he has as many chips as Joseph Chong, 12 big blinds, it's not the end of the world. If he calls and wins, though, he's going to have a mountain of chips, 4.7 million or so, whereas everyone else has 2.4. And that is exactly the spot you want to be in. I think this is an excellent spot to take on a little bit of risk for Foxen, especially given he really knows how to play a big stack well. And that's a little bit more of a reason to make the call. Again, you don't really want to have the 9 in your hand to make this call. At this point, you don't really want to have the 9 of diamonds in your hand to make the call because 9-8 of diamonds is a very logical bluff. But Foxen doesn't care. He finds the call, and he wins a gigantic pot. That's going to be it for today. If you enjoyed today's video, click the like and subscribe buttons down below. Please go do it. Also, click the notification bell. And if you like big hero calls, I have another hand lined up for you right now featuring one of my favorite video bloggers, Johnny Vibes. Hope you enjoy.